was going to ask if you... Oh, hey everyone, you're seeing picture in picture as I am trying to figure something out. Give me a second. I'm sorry about that. There we go.
We're getting fancy tonight.
We are.
We have a special guest tonight, don't we? It's Jesus.
It's Jesus. So sorry about that little technical kerfuffle at the beginning. So if you're just joining us, this is Josh Wonders Why. It is a weekly conversation that I lead on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern with mostly Pastor Kelly, where we talk about a wide variety of topics. Sometimes they're religious, sometimes it's news, sometimes it's just eating Peeps, but always it's all good fun.
I was at Walmart, and back in the photo department, there were these like 3-foot cardboard cutout Peeps. They were the bunnies, not the chicks, but in full color.
Really?
And I asked if they were going to just throw them out, and the guy was like, I don't know, I can't tell you that you can take them. I was like,
so
okay.
Did you take them?
No, I asked.
Oh,
I asked. I said, are you done using these? Or are they just going to the trash? Because, so if anybody has any pull at Walmart, and you can find out if those 2 Peep cutouts are going to the trash, I will pick them up. I wanted to surprise Josh.
Which Walmart is this?
The one in West Lafayette.
The one in West Lafayette. Yeah. Sorry to that. I'm sort of preoccupied. I'm trying to do both.
I'm just talking.
That's fine. I'm trying to do both producing and getting the video set up because we're going to do a multimedia event tonight. It's going to be fun.
Yes.
So we were talking about Jesus and the many images that Jesus may be depicted in art and in movies. And the first thing I'm going to ask you about that's totally random that I did not give you a heads up about.
Oh, hi, John. You're the only one I can see watching.
Okay.
There may be some
So,
others.
Did you celebrate Mario Day yesterday?
Is that why you're wearing that? I wondered why you were wearing. Yes. That's a pretty cool sweatshirt.
I'm wearing them.
I'm sorry, I did not.
Okay.
I should ask my sons if they did though.
Mario Day. So if you don't know, March 10th, then 10 looks like Mario. So we spent some time yesterday, me and my kids, playing Mario video games. So I'm curious if your sons knew about it, but it comes out.
I don't know. They might.
It only happens once a year, right? Mario Day.
Yeah, I figured that.
But sort of feeding into that, I look at this picture of Mario and I wonder, could this have been how Jesus looked? Do we know? A short, stocky Italian plumber, right?
But I'm guessing he didn't have blue eyes. I don't know.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, right? So what I wanted to do is, with your help, Kelly, we have been able to get some pictures, some movies, and I have some stills that I'm going to try to pop up right now. We're going to see how well this goes. So bear with me as I get this set up.
Yeah, you researched the art, and I researched the movies, but you added a couple movies too, which was good. I found some of these movies when Tony and I led this Philip Yancey's study called The Jesus I Never Knew.
There you go.
There were videos in the study, and they had clips from some obscure and not so obscure movies about Jesus.
So here we go. We are on, let me just check. So we got the picture, and we're in the picture-in-picture. This is great. If you are watching us,
good job.
Yeah, so far so good. It took me a while to figure this out, longer than I like to admit. So if you're watching us also, I would like to understand where you're watching us from. You're watching us from your living room, from your bedroom, in your car, at a coffee shop, are on your phone, or are you on a computer or laptop? Just put it in the chat. Be curious to see, as always, you see where we sit at this table in front of you, but it'd be nice to picture where you are watching us from. So with that, we'll get started. So what I want to start with some art, because Jesus depicted in movies didn't happen until like the 19th and 20th century. So this first piece of artwork here is at a church in Italy, I believe, called the Santa Pudenziano, and it was a mosaic created in the 4th century. Now, what I like on this one is this is probably at the time how Jesus was depicted, and if you notice, he has long brown hair, a brown beard, he's wearing a robe, and interesting at the time, and this is sort of the Jesus that you'll see maybe in movies and in cartoons as well, at the time when artists were trying to depict Jesus, they had nothing to go off of other than how other gods were depicted. So they may have had influence by how Zeus was depicted and other of the Greek gods. So with this picture here you see on our screen, he's got long hair and a beard, probably like Zeus, and he's got a stature sitting on a throne like the other gods, the Greek gods that are depicted there. So I like this because it shows maybe the image of Jesus that has been maybe brought down. That's like the standard picture of his face, right?
Yeah.
Long brown hair, a brown beard, and I don't know if his eyes...
And the halo.
His eyes may be blue if I could zoom in closer, but I'm joking. I don't know if it's blue. So we got this one. Now I got to figure out how to change slides. Okay, so this is the first depiction of Jesus, maybe in this sort of image that has been carried on into the future pictures.
4th century. That's
4th century.
That's pretty early on.
The other one I have here is if I switch there, and I got to go back now. It didn't go yet. Okay, here we go. I got to double click.
Yeah.
So this one is called Christ Pantocrator, and it's from the 6th century. And the Greek word Pantocrator means he who has authority over everything. And it's believed that the Greeks took two Hebrew expressions from the Old Testament and lumped them together, the two expressions being God of host and Almighty, and lumped them together into he who has authority over everything, or Pantocrator. So this image here, I like this because it's a different image than the brown-haired, long beard Jesus. And this, if you look, if you notice, you'll see that one eye is different than the other eye, and he's holding a book, has the open hand. The thought is that half of the image is depicted Jesus as a human, the other half is depicting him as divine. So it's interesting how, I guess, this is a different picture of Jesus compared to all the other paintings that we see from that time as well as from the Renaissance area, right? So we got that one. Let's jump to the next picture here, which is the famous, if it loads up. Nope, didn't go yet. I got to double click. I'm sorry, I'm still learning how to double click. So this is the Last Supper, as everybody knows, from Da Vinci. So Kelly and I were talking about this. If you've read the Da Vinci Code, you'll know this has a lot to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder how real that is, right?
As if Da Vinci was there and took a Polaroid photo or something,
Yeah.
People in the book, it was just so ridiculous because it was like, it was a great book and good movie, but, people were acting like this was a photo and, reading things into it that aren't there. Yeah,
it reminds me of my favorite joke where Jesus and apostles show up to the place where the Last Supper is, and they say, want a table for 24. And he goes, you only have 12 people. He goes, yeah, we're all sitting on one side of the table, right? So I probably butchered that joke, but it cracks me up.
I haven't heard that one. That's good.
Table for 24, but we're all sitting on one side. So this is interesting too because Jesus has some feminine features, and there are some apostles that have some feminine features as well. And I think the the person sitting to Jesus' right, I can't recall which apostle that is, but in the Da Vinci Code book, the theory was that was Mary Magdalene, and the fact that they're touching hands meant they were married or something, right?
I wonder if that's John and Peter is
Oh,
like whispering
okay.
and pointing to Jesus because
Yeah.
he said, ask him which one of us is going to betray him.
Yeah.
Also, it's not biblical because they would not have been sitting at a table like that. They would have been reclining on the floor on cushions.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. That's a good point. But this Jesus looks like similar to the previous Jesus I showed 2 pictures ago, right? Long hair, a beard, wearing royal robes, right, in a way. So these are the pictures that I found, the paintings that came through the Renaissance era, the Byzantine era, just to depict Jesus, to show what they thought at the time. And they basically just leveraged what their understanding of what gods looked like at the time with the Greek and Roman gods, of how they were depicted in sculptures and paintings, to basically use that to model Jesus after.
Did you take art history?
I took a class in high school on this. But I can also read Google, and that's how I know most of the stuff, right? So we got these paintings. Now we'll get to the fun stuff that Kelly, I'm going to quiz her on. Now we got some movies that I'd be curious to see. People that are watching, if you've seen any of these movies, chime in, and I'd be curious. So the first one we have is called, bear with me,
From the Manger to the Cross.
From the Manger to the Cross. And this is 1912, and apparently went too far.
Yeah.
Let's go back. I'm sorry. I'm double-clicking too many times.
Yeah, a silent film, obviously, 1912.
There we go. It's back now. So it's a silent film, and this shows Jesus sort of long hair, similar to the one we saw in the Last Supper, I would say, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe. Mm-hmm. It's a silent film. Do you know if it's the first film depicting Jesus?
I don't know if it's the first, but...
Okay. Again, long hair, a beard, right? So let's go to the next one. It should change coming up soon. Okay, there's a delay that I need to get rid of. Okay, so this is King of Kings from 1927.
Also a silent film, but I think there was a soundtrack with it, or, kind of background music. And then there were the, pictures with the words so you could read. And
Okay. Interesting. Still, I don't know. I could picture him having blue eyes. Maybe. You can't tell it's black and white. The next one that's going to pop up is called The Gospel According to St. Matthew from 1964. And this one, what do you know about this one? This is an interesting one.
This is an Italian film, so it's in Italian. It was the person who wrote it had some Marxist ideas. So that's kind of reflected in how the story gets told. It's different. It's different. That's all I can say. And
Have you seen it?
no, I've just seen clips of it.
Okay.
And it's interesting because John the Baptist sprinkles people instead of like dunking them,
Uh-huh.
in the river. In this movie, he just like scoops up a little bit of water and just puts it on their head.
Really?
Yeah. And I found that funny.
I do. I think this is the only depiction of Jesus with a unibrow as well.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Sadly, yeah.
Sadly.
Although I discovered that is actually in fashion in some cultures.
Sure. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that I guess I would say there's no other depiction I've seen of him with a unibrow. It's typically 2 individual eyebrows.
Yes.
So it's interesting. I'm curious though. Maybe there are different art or paintings out there that have that. Okay, next one up is called Son of Man. I think you have some. There we go.
Yeah, 1969. So this one was done in the UK. So Jesus has a British accent. They all have a British accent, which,
Of course.
when we watch movies that are made in the US, we don't go, oh, that's interesting. It has like an American accent,
Yeah.
But when you watch something from the UK, it just kind of stands out to you, right?
Yeah.
It was just kind of interesting that I think this is a scene from when he's talking about the Beatitudes, and he was angry through the whole thing.
He was angry the whole time? Is angry Jesus the whole time?
When he was talking about the Beatitudes, yeah, he was like walking around, getting in people's faces, and and getting kind of, I don't know, agitated. I don't know. I just thought it was so weird to me. I don't picture Jesus being agitated like this when he's giving the Beatitudes.
Yeah, so when I saw this picture, I figured it's from when he flipped the table in the temple. This is not from that scene at all. That's
No.
giving the
But then
Beatitudes.
at the end of the movie, when they're in the Garden of Gethsemane, there's a scene where he's telling Peter, he's just like talking very softly, pray for me. So he's very
So he
mellow and, kind of sad. So, yeah. And I think that this Jesus looks a little bit like Jack Black.
Yeah, I found when I was looking for pictures, there were other pictures of the movie that he looks a lot more like Jack Black. I've never seen Jack Black look this angry though. So
well, that's
maybe,
true.
But so it's hard to see that. But if you see it with his mouth closed, he does look a little bit like Jack Black. So if they redid this Son of Man now, Jack Black could play this character perfectly.
Yes.
With a British accent. The next one, as it pops up, is called The Gospel Road. There we go. It's popped up now. So what do you want to say about this one?
I call this Malibu Jesus.
Malibu Jesus.
Yeah, it's just really strange because I never picture Jesus as blonde.
Is this the one with Johnny Cash, or is that a different
No.
one? Okay, we'll get to that in a
That's-
minute. Sorry. Well, yeah, I couldn't recall.
Oh yeah, this isn't the Gospel Road. This is
Oh, did I type it in wrong?
the Gospel Road is 1973, and it was done by Johnny Cash, who narrates it and plays the music, and his wife is.
But
is
this
Mary
isn't.
Magdalene.
This is not the person. Okay. So apparently I pulled the wrong Jesus in.
I
I'm
wonder
sorry.
if this is Jesus, 1979.
It could be it. We'll get to that in a minute. So it's Surfer Dude Jesus. I do enjoy this. Yeah. I assume his eyes are blue, but I guess we won't know.
Probably, but
So the next one I inserted, let's see. So the next one that's going to pop up, give it a second. It is going to be Godspell from the same year, so 1973. I wanted to put this one in here because it is interesting. It's a different depiction. If you've ever seen Godspell, it's an interesting movie in itself based off the musical. I had never watched it before, but my daughter is going to be in a junior rendition of this coming up at the local civic theater here. So we watched it last weekend, and it was interesting. I think you were actually in a
I was in it in high school.
in a production
yeah.
in high school, right?
Yeah, we didn't have junior musicals back then,
Okay.
but yeah, we did Godspell, and I loved being in that show, and because I was a Christian at that time, and and the movie is very 70s,
Yes.
but Jesus in Godspell is just so delightful, just so playful and kind and caring and sweet, and I just think it's a great retelling of the story.
And I was, if you haven't seen it, interesting wardrobe choices all around. I think someone described it as, at the time, they tried to get, the wardrobe was clown hippies is what they're going for. So with this one also, they want to make sure Jesus wore, if you notice, it looks similar to a Superman logo. They want to have the Superman
Good music
logo.
too, that's right.
Yeah, it is really good music. So we got the Godspell. The next one is probably the picture I probably should have put with the other one, and this is Jesus of Nazareth. Well, actually, maybe this is the...
Jesus of Nazareth. No, that's correct.
Okay, this is correct one.
This is a TV series.
It's a TV series.
Yeah.
From the 70s, okay.
Yes, it was a mini series.
Yeah.
And they used certain makeup, like blue and purple eyeliner or something, to make his eyes even more vividly blue.
Do you know why they made him blue? Is there some sort of symbolism there?
I don't know. But it was interesting. I don't think you pulled up the painting of Jesus that is so iconic. Where he's got the wavy light brown hair and the blue eyes, and he's like looking off into the distance.
I found that at Google. I didn't want to put that in though. I felt I should have put that one in. Yeah, you're right.
People think of, and so maybe they just went off of that with this.
Okay, they based off that iconic picture probably. Okay. The next one is Jesus, and this is probably the one that I had messed up with the other one, but Let's wait for it to load. So this is the one that Johnny Cash did.
No,
Oh,
you don't have one of Johnny Cash's. Sadly,
which one was Johnny Cash's?
The Gospel Road in '73.
Oh, I thought okay. So okay, I at least listed the name, but I had the wrong picture. So this is the same Jesus from the one below. Okay, so this one's called Jesus.
No, maybe that was The Gospel Road. Okay, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, maybe that was Gospel Road. You were right.
Yeah,
I
because
was
you have
wrong.
Malibu Jesus there. Okay,
I was wrong.
no, it's fine.
Because you didn't have a picture of Johnny Cash.
Well, because I was confused first. I thought you said Johnny Cash played Jesus, but when I pulled up pictures,
No.
it's not Johnny Cash.
No, he narrated it.
Okay.
Yeah, so my bad. If we weren't live, we would edit that out. But we're live.
Oh well. So this one's Jesus. So what do you know about this one? Besides, he looks iconic with his long hair and his beard, right?
I know nothing else about it.
It's just called Jesus.
Yeah, although I think he has brown eyes and brown hair, and
Yeah.
so that's nice.
The next one I put in is it's from 1988, and it is called The Last Temptation of Christ. It's an interesting movie nonetheless. That's Willem Dafoe playing Jesus, and it's actually directed by Martin Scorsese. It's an interesting story from what I can remember, but essentially Jesus is crucified on the cross, and an angel appears to him and says, you know, God is pleased with you, but you're not really the Son of God. You're not really the Christ. I can take you away and help you live a normal life. So he takes him off the cross. Jesus ends up marrying Mary Magdalene, and
yeah.
like 50 years later, he's struggling. He's about to die, and it turns out the angel was actually Satan that tempted him to not be crucified. So then he pleads to God, and God puts him back on the cross, essentially. So all that...
That's a little bit like It's a Wonderful Life.
It is.
Which, fun fact,
You're right.
back in The King of Kings in 1927, the guy who played Jesus, H.B. Warner, also played Mr. Gower in It's a Wonderful Life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So we got this one. The next one that will pop up in 2004, they had The Passion of the Christ. Now, did you see this when it came out?
No.
It was if I recall, it was a pretty big deal when it came out.
It was a very big deal, but I don't do well with a lot of angst and
Yeah.
blood and suffering. I don't do well in movies where people suffer.
I saw it in the theaters with my dad, and seeing it once is probably enough. I probably don't want to see it again, but it was good to see, just to see that depiction of that that time, the crucifixion. But you know, my wife wanted to watch it sometime. Like I was like, that's fine, you can watch it yourself. I've seen it once, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it again because
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's just so painful to look for. But it gives you,
Yeah.
I mean, if it is anywhere close to how it happened, it gives you more of a maybe a love for what Jesus did for you, right?
Well, and it's just with me with movies like that, it affects me differently. Like my husband can watch a movie like that and and just be like, oh, that was a good movie, and then he goes on with life. I am like traumatized for the rest of the week and have nightmares about it. So I tend to not watch things like this, or I don't watch Holocaust movies.
Yeah. So you never have you
yeah.
ever seen Schindler's List? I assume you
No.
never did then. Okay.
No, I've just never been brave enough to see those. But I was at the Holocaust Museum when I went to Israel.
Okay.
And that I came out of there crying.
Oh, okay.
Nobody else in my group. They were all just like talking and laughing outside, and I come out and I'm like crying and just can't shake it.
It's just emotional, the pictures
yeah,
and everything.
so
Yeah.
that's why I don't watch movies like this.
Probably a smart move. It is. If you've never seen it, it's probably good to see once. I don't know if it's worth, watching over and over again, unless maybe someone likes that. So.
Yeah, agree with Kelly, and having seen other Mel Gibson movies, knew it would be bloody. Now here's a trivia about that. I was reading some about this movie, and the guy who played Jesus, so they had it set up so that when they were flogging him, something would stop the weapon, I don't know what you call that. And
The whip, is it like it was like
the thing that had the balls on it, I think.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
So something was supposed to stop that, but it actually the balls actually hit him really hard in the shoulder, and then the guy did it again. I mean, not
wow.
meaning to.
Yeah, he didn't.
But
He
they
realized
just like
it.
they flipped around whatever barrier it was and hit him. And he goes, and here I was playing Jesus, and I turned around and just cussed that guy out.
It tells you how much restraint Jesus had. If that happened that way, he just let it. Maybe you never know. Maybe he was cussing up a storm as well.
That's the thing. I mean, he might have had choice words, but he. That's kind of the point of Christ, which I will talk about on Thursday at Digging Deep. He did not retaliate.
Yeah. The other thing, interesting trivia about this one that I read somewhere is that when they were nailing his hands to the cross, the person that was actually nailing his hands and feet to the cross in the movie was actually Mel Gibson himself, because he didn't want people to say that, he didn't want blame to be had on some random person that was shown. So he's like, I'm gonna nail him to the cross. So if they blame anybody for doing that, it would be me. I don't know why.
Which is funny because there was so much flack about Mel Gibson being anti-Semitic. And how he blamed the Jews for killing Christ.
That's right. So I
there was a lot of
I remember
flack.
it came out that it was a deal that he made a point that it was his hands that were nailing Jesus' hands to the cross and the feet to the cross.
I wonder how they did that.
I don't know. We should see behind the scenes. Making
maybe like the fake daggers that you can stick in somebody and it just collapses back into the hilt.
Or just
that.
fake feet or something.
That could be.
Or fake hands.
AI.
I don't know, but what's surprising, computers weren't that
I know.
back then in 2004. So that's basically the run through of the movies. So we looked at the artwork that started the whole depiction of Jesus as like a holy god based off of Zeus. All these movies you're seeing a common thread where he's got long hair, a beard, mostly brown eyes, with the exception of the Malibu Jesus who has blonde hair and blue eyes, which is a depiction of that famous artwork that I should have put in here but I didn't. So one thing I remember seeing, and maybe you've seen this too, so back in 2001, an anthropologist named Richard Neve actually went and created a model of what a Galilean would have looked like at the time. And I'm going to pop that picture up now. And while it's popping up, essentially, he took a skull from the time of that, found in that region at the time, and basically put a face on top of it, or put a head on top of it. He claims he did not claim it was Jesus' face. It was simply meant to prompt people to consider Jesus as being a man of his time and place, since we are never really told he looked distinctive. So this is probably what a common Galilean man may have looked like based off of historical, documents and, the archaeological finds at the time. Apparently our camera went away. Sorry, I don't know what just happened there.
Yeah.
Let me figure this out.
That's all right. We can just feature Jesus.
I think our camera cut out. I'm going to get up and plug the camera back in. Give me a second.
What was it? What did the camera say the one time when it was getting, the batteries were getting tired or something?
Yeah, it looks like the camera.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Oh,
it wouldn't be.
Well, we'll just, at least we have Jesus' picture up. So. Do you have one more slide?
I do have one more slide.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I go to a different camera, but it's probably.
Well.
Let's just.
We're getting pretty close to
yeah.
time.
Let me go back to the next. Let me go to the final slide. So this is Jesus, and then there was a more recent depiction of Jesus that a lady named what's her name? If I can find it on here, Joan Taylor put together, and she basically started to wonder, based off the findings, what would Jesus look like? And from historical evidence and the archaeological remains of the time, she figured Jesus was probably an average Galilean who was roughly 5'5", brown eyes, black hair, and olive brown skin. When it comes to his beard and his hair, the thought was the people at the time kept shorter hair and shorter beards with the concern with lice, right? So if you kept it short, you wouldn't have a concern with lice. Also, with long hair, there may be confusion that he took a Nazarite vow with long hair and unkempt beard. So this sort of seems similar to how they would have groomed themselves at that time with short hair and a beard. And also with respect to the tunic, he's wearing one cloth for a tunic. The thought was if you had multiple cloths, that would have meant royalty or riches, and a single cloth was more what working people at the time would have worn. So I found this is interesting just because the sketch she put together does give a slightly different rendition of Jesus compared to the long-haired, long beard Jesus that we've seen portrayed in the past.
It's interesting though because in the Gospel of John it talks about they divided up his clothes. There were 4 of them. They divided up his clothes evenly among them. So he had to have at least been wearing 5 things because it said that the undergarment was one piece and they cast lots for that so they didn't have to rip it.
Okay.
And my thing is, since Jesus really didn't have a home and they traveled everywhere, he may have been wearing layers just because he didn't have a closet to put stuff in. So I don't know.
Yeah. So interesting. So I guess we're at the top. We're at the end of the time together. Someone just mentioned, thought somewhere in the Bible it says he had hair like a lamb's.
That's in Revelation, and it says that he has white hair, as white as wool. So it doesn't really say the texture is like wool, but the color is white. And that's probably when he returns, perhaps. So I don't know. What do you all think? What do you think Jesus looked like?
And I guess the question is, does it matter what he looked like?
Does it matter? Yeah. Does it matter what he looked like? And there's a verse in Isaiah 53 just describing what the Messiah would be like. And it's really, the whole chapter is really interesting because you begin to see the similarities between this prophecy and who Jesus was, what Jesus did. And in one verse, and it says, he had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. That's why I always think Jesus must have been, just your average Joe.
Yeah. Just an average person. So so we're back on went to camera B now, just to show us again, so you know that we're not completely went away. But yeah, the last 2 pictures I think they just show Jesus as a standard run-of-the-mill Galilean at the time, whereas the other ones you may say they more at the time. If you saw someone with long hair and blue eyes, it would have stood out, right? You would have said, "Hey, that guy is special." But this is pointing out that he's just an average Joe like the rest of them at the time, and he probably blended in with the crowd.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's interesting. And I guess, you see all these renditions, and I guess then the question is whether he was average or he looked like Malibu Jesus or he looked like Zeus. At the end of the day, does it really matter what he looks like? I guess the question is it depends on if you actually worship that image of Jesus and that image of Jesus alone, right? That's probably where the issue is.
That's a really good point, because I know that there are people who probably do kind of worship that iconic picture of Jesus.
Yeah,
that's the Jesus they believe. They think that's who Jesus is.
And then I guess the worry is then that's how Jesus looked like. He looks like me. So people that don't look like him are probably not Christians in a way, right? Could be the thought that.
Yeah, and there are depictions of Black Jesus, an Asian inspired artwork of Jesus. So, I think we probably tend to picture Jesus looking like us.
Yeah.
Depending on where we live in the world. But if we want to be accurate, we just have to remember where he lived and when he lived, and what, because there would have been nothing to stand out. So
yeah, so interesting. Well, thanks for the discussion today, Kelly.
Yeah, and thanks for doing all the work.
I wasn't expecting to have a technical difficulty at the end, but I'm glad I could go to a backup camera. So thank you
Yeah.
all for watching as well, and thank you for all your input. Let's see, someone said the iconic picture to me is the one
Yes.
with him standing at the door knocking.
And
Is
I
that the one
think
you're
it's-
thinking of?
No, but I think it's by the same artist.
Okay.
I think those two are by the same person. I'll have to check.
We'll have to find those and put them on
Uh-huh.
the Facebook page, the Facebook group. So thanks again for watching us. I want to remind you, if you didn't see this morning, Kelly's starting a new Monday morning stream called, was it Coffee with Kelly? Is that what it is? It's at 7 a.m.?
No.
Okay.
No, it's at 8:30. No.
Tells you how my day was going. I'm pretty sure it was 7 o'clock when I think back. But okay, 8:30 on Mondays is what
yeah.
you're going to do, Coffee
Yeah,
with
it's
Kelly.
it's just kind of some time of morning prayer. Where if you have things you'd like me to pray about, then you can bring those, and or if you watch it later, you can still leave prayer requests in the comments, and I'll be notified of those. But yeah, I'm using a book called Common Prayer for the Ordinary Radical. So
Okay.
yeah.
And it's not, it's not a long like this or digging deep.
No.
It's like a short
I think
5-minute little.
It was 15 minutes. I
15
think.
minutes, okay.
Yeah, because I talked a little.
Okay.
Because I was just
That's
shooting
a
the breeze
sure
at
thing,
the
yeah.
beginning.
Sure thing. So again, I think this, look for it next Monday at 8:30 in the morning to join live, ask any questions or prayer requests at the time, and get prayed for at that time. So it should be good. And then this Thursday, we'll be back 7 p.m. with Digging Deep again.
Yep.
Continue to talk about Jesus through Paul's eyes. Looking forward to that as well.
Yep.
So thanks again for watching. Thanks again for joining us, Kelly. Hope you have a good rest of your day wherever you are, and we'll see you in the comments.
Bye.